So welcome everyone. Welcome to our Mastermind on Marketing. My name is Andrew Patricio, and I've always been a business owner. And what I'm going to try and share with you today are some creative ways of marketing our business. That's really what you want to try and do. And as we go along, if any of you have got any questions, I encourage you to post them in the chat. And what I'm going to try and do is make sure that I answer as many questions as possible. So I'll go through it, and I notice there are some questions there already, but as I go through the content, I'll go back, check out the question, and then I'll answer these. And I encourage you to participate. The Mastermind's are an opportunity to ask questions, to get some advice and guidance, and that's what these sessions are for. And I encourage you to ask questions if you got. And if you don't, that's okay. I've created a couple of slides just to give you some information. Just before we begin, I think it doesn't matter what stage your business is at, whether you're in the startup stage, whether you're an existing business, there are a couple of really important things that I think make our marketing more effective. And I want you to reflect on these things. I want you to think about them as a business owner, and I want you to make sure that you at least thinking about these things whenever you're doing any marketing. The first thing, and a really, really important thing, is to identify the ideal customer for your service. And I think this is a really important thing that we understand as a customer, is that, I mean, as a business owner, is that they are customers that need our product or services, but that may not be everybody. There are customers that are going for premium products or services. There are other customers that are going for the medium, and other customers that are going for the cheaper market. So what we've got to try and do as business owners is identify the profile of our customer. Which person do we believe is the right person, or can afford or can value our product or service? And it's important that you do this. It's really, really important. Otherwise, what happens as a business owner is you're trying to market to everybody. And what you're doing is you're creating a confusion in the market. There are certain people that need your product or service. And one of your objectives as a business owner is to identify who these people are. Once you identify who these people are, the next thing you want to try and identify is, where do they hang out? Online, offline, what's the best way to communicate with them? What's the best way to market to them? And then once you identify that, you then create marketing materials to target them. And that's really, really important that we understand this, because I find that sometimes we get the basics wrong. We get the basics wrong. I see small business owners printing thousands of flyers, distributing thousands of flyers, not getting results and not understanding why. And sometimes it's just because they haven't identified their target market. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I believe that running a business is difficult. It is really, really difficult. And I like telling new business owners this. And it doesn't matter what stage you're at. Some of us are brand new businesses. Some of us have been doing this for a long time, but still we find it challenging. And often our lives are very, very complicated. And what you've got to be careful of, and chaotic, what you've got to be careful of, especially when it comes to marketing, is that you're not organized. Marketing works when you do it regularly, consistently, and you have some form of plan to do it. So I encourage every business owner that I meet up with, you've got to create a marketing plan, a very, very simple one-page document that you use to keep you on track and focused. And if you do that, I believe you've got a better chance of succeeding. The second thing that I think is really important in these really busy lives that we run is we got to make sure that we allocate time and we allocate money towards marketing. Because the key to building a successful business is to not stop marketing. You don't stop marketing when your business gets too busy. So what you got to try and do is to firstly allocate time, on a weekly basis to do marketing. And then if you've got budget, which not all of us do, but if we've got budget, we can allocate money towards marketing. But I'm here to tell you, there's a lot of small business owners that are doing really, really well out there that are not spending dollars on marketing, but they are getting very creative and innovative. And I'm going to try and share some of those ideas with you today. The next thing that I think is really important is to be consistent. One of the interesting things about Canada is we have one of the highest rates of franchising per capita. And if you've traveled across the country, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Doesn't matter whether you're in PEI or on the West Coast, you get to it, before you get to a town or a city, you know exactly what's going to be there. There's going to be 17 Tim Hortons, so many McDonald's, there's be an A&W, there's going to be Boston Pizza. And these businesses are in every single town and city. So why do Canadians go and shop at a franchise? There are a couple of reasons. The one thing that franchises do really well is they do things consistently. So it doesn't matter whether you're in Victoria or you're in Charlottetown, you know that you will see the same signage. You will see the same branding. You're going to the store, you'll see that all the employees have a uniform. The product is consistent. The service is often consistent. The cleanliness of the store is consistent. And before customers even walk in, they know what to expect. So here's the thing I often say to small business owners. You're not a franchise, and you never want to be a franchise. And what you do makes you unique. But some of the little things that franchises do are things you need to learn from. For example, the way they lay out their stores, the cleanliness, their logos, their fonts, their uniforms, all of those things are good for your business because they ensure that there's consistency and also just makes you look more professional. You know, when somebody comes into your store and it just looks like you know what you're doing, it makes such a difference. And I've been lucky enough to travel quite a lot, working with small business owners in different parts of the world. And I find that when I'm in a city and I want to get something to eat and I cannot speak the language, what I often look for is stores that are not franchises, because I don't like eating at franchise stores, but almost look like franchises. You know, they've got that consistency. The stores are clean, their staff have uniforms, they have prices on their products, all those things. You've got to be very, very careful as a small business owner that you are focusing on getting customers and not focusing on that consistency, so that when I come into your store, you look like you know what you are doing. You look like a business that wants to sell products or services. So consistency is really, really important. For those of us that are selling services and maybe visiting clients one-on-one, that means, for example, the clothing that we wear, the consistency of our look, our motor vehicles that we're using, all of those things need to look the part. It needs to look like you know what you're doing. And when I phone your business or email your business or whatever way I communicate with you, it needs to be consistent. Your response rates need to be consistent. The level of customer service needs to be consistent. All of these things. These things are really, really important, especially now. Now, as we go through this, I don't know if we're going through a recession or not, but we definitely got loads of inflation. People are now watching every single dollar they have, and they're looking for bargains. And often they're not looking for them in small businesses. So we've got to make sure that our businesses are far more attractive to these clients. The other thing that I think is really, really important is that every bit of marketing we do, we need to measure the effectiveness. It really concerns me when small business owners will say things like, well, at least we're trying. I don't think at least we're trying is a good response. You want to know as a business owner, which of our marketing is working and which of our marketing is not working. And I think this is really key, because when you find out what is working, you want to do that over and over again. And the other thing I've realized as a business owner is that there's no easy way to get customers into your business. Really no easy way. If there was, most of us would have come up with it. Simple way to get customers in. There's no easy way to do that. So what you want to do is you want to try different things. You want to try a bit of email marketing. You want to try a bit of pamphlet distribution. You want to try a few promotions, and then you want to measure the effectiveness of it. So it doesn't matter what you're doing, you want to be measuring the effectiveness. Let's use an example. Let's say you decide you're going to run a promotion. I noticed we got a chocolate business here. You decided you're going to take certain bonbons and you're going to, instead of selling them 2 for $5, you're going to give them 3 for $5 or whatever. What you've got to do is you've got to run the promotion and then you've got to measure the results. So we sold bonbons 3 for $5. How much did our sales increase relative to before that promotion? And then we can measure, was giving up profit worth it? Or let's use another example. Let's say you're going to do a flyer distribution. Firstly, you will identify a targeted area. Then you will distribute the flyers. And then you need to have a way to measure the effectiveness of the flyer. And one of the easiest ways to measure the effectiveness of any marketing material is when somebody comes into your store and you ask them this really simple question: where did you hear about us? It is one of the most important questions that you can ask any business owner, any customer that comes into your store. And the last thing I always say to business owners is you've got to be patient. You've really got to be patient as a business owner, which none of you want to hear. You don't want to be patient. You want to spend money on marketing today. You want to do a flyer distribution. You want to run a promotion. You want your business full of customers tomorrow. The reality is very, very different. So on the first slide, I said that you and I, as business owners, we should create a marketing plan, a really simple document that's going to keep us on track and focused. And I recommend you just create it on a one-pager. Do it once a year, and then every 90 days, you want to be updating it. And maybe now is the appropriate time. I always think of September, especially in retail, as a really important time because we've got September, we've got October, we've got November, and then we've got December. So some really good months. We've got back to school, we've got Halloween, we've got Black Friday, we've got the Christmas period. So lots of really good opportunities to market our products or services. And we need to market. We cannot sit back and say, well, let's hope for some divine intervention that the next 4 months are going to be good. The first thing we need to do as business owners is be very, very clear on what our goals are. So you start off by writing down things just on a piece of paper, like a bullet point type thing. These are my marketing objectives. Over the next 4 months, I want to make $10,000 in September, $11,000 in October, $15,000 in November, and $25,000 in December. You want to be very, very specific about the things that you want to achieve. We currently have 1,000 people on our Instagram, and I want to increase that to 1,200. I want to make sure that the response rate to our email newsletter goes from 16% to 17%. I want to increase the number of visitors to our website from 18 to 20. The problem with a lot of the targets or the goals or the things that we set in marketing, we're not specific enough. So what I want you to do is to be very, very specific. And here's the thing. This is not going to take you a long time to do. You're going to be sitting at home in front of your TV, and you're going to take out a pen and paper, and you're going to write down very, very clearly what your objectives are. The first thing is to write down what your objectives are. The second thing you want to do is how are we going to achieve those objectives? So firstly, start off by writing down your marketing objectives. The next thing is be very, very clear on who your target market is. And any one of us on this event this afternoon can do that. We can do it by scanning the people that come into our store. We can look at our invoices and go through them and see it. Or we can use analytics through our point of sale material or our website to tell us who is our target market. And you've got to be very, very clear on this. Because once you can identify your target market, then you want to find out where they hang out. And once you find out where they hang out, you want to hang out in the same place. It sounds very simplistic, but this is the key to building a successful business. This is the key to effective marketing. The third thing you want to think about, and this is a very, very important question. What value do you offer in your business that is different to your competitors? So let's use the example, and I'm not going to ask you to answer this question, but I'm just going to use this example of Nirvan's question here, or Nirvani's question here, is what makes your photography business different to your competitors? And every single one of us need to answer that question. Whether I'm selling chocolates, whether I'm selling wine, whether I'm a restaurant down the road, where I'm a retailer selling candles, I've got to differentiate myself. I've got to give people a reason to come into my store. And it's got to be something that is unique. It's got to be something that is different. It's got to be something that's special. And price cannot be the only differentiator. Price is something that is important, but it's not the only thing. And I want you to understand that. I want you to get that into your mind, that price is not the most important thing. Is it important? Absolutely. But it is not the most important thing. And you'll realize this very, very quickly, because a lot of us make that assumption. And the reason we make that assumption is sometimes that's how we got into our business in the first place. We got into our business in the first place by discounting our products or services. People started buying our stuff, and then we think, you know what, that's the way forward. And the reality is that what happens with that business model is often you discount, but you don't make profit. And you've got to be very, very careful of this. You're selling the volumes, you've got lots of cash flowing through your business, but you're not making profit. And you cannot survive doing that. The next thing you want to think about on this one-page piece of paper while you're sitting in front of the TV, planning your business, are what marketing tools are you going to use? So this is really, really key. You need to try and identify one or two marketing tools that you're going to use that are going to bring customers into your store. And often the way we work this out is by trying things, but basically trial and error. So let's say, for example, you decide you're going to do flyers. You decide, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a couple of university students, I'm going to distribute some flyers. What I encourage you to do is, instead of saying, well, let's do 10,000 flyers at once and see what happens, I encourage you to rather break it down to smaller amounts and really test the response rate. So instead of doing 10,000 flyers once, maybe do 1,000 flyers 10 times. And there's two reasons for doing that. One is you can measure the response rates. And secondly, here's the thing that I've learned in marketing, is that if I see your marketing materials over and over again, it's far more effective than me seeing it once. And I've got a very good example in my main street down the road here. There's a little store that's just opened recently. And when they started, it was exciting. They had balloons outside and they had the sign on the sidewalk and things like that. They were creating a lot of, they were really creating a bit of action there. And when I walked past the store, I couldn't but notice the store. And now that I go past, I notice they don't put the balloons there and things like that. What they don't realize is that because I walk past there every day, doesn't mean I notice the store. But because they try and get my attention by either putting balloons out there or having somebody standing outside giving me samples or whatever it is, it's sometimes we need to get distracted. And so if you're on a main street somewhere across Ontario, you've got to understand, you've got to get people's note. You've got to make sure that people notice you. And you think that everybody knows where you are. And especially if you've been there a while. But I promise you, there are people that live in your area or moved into your area recently that don't even know you exist. So sometimes it's the simple things we do, where we're very, very targeted. But marketing, you have to make this part of your DNA. It's got to become part of your system. It's got to become the way you grow your business. The last thing you want to focus on two things. One is your budget, how much you're going to spend on marketing, and then how we're going to measure success. And if you're a retailer, you should be spending 3 to 5% of your annual revenue on marketing. If you're a service business, about 10% is the ideal number. So that gives you a couple of benchmarks, a couple of guidelines that you can use to make sure that you get the right results. Often I say to small business owners, you need to do the simple things right. So I've got a little store down the road here on the main street. It's actually a UPS store, franchise, which I'm a bit surprised. And every morning I walk past there, and because I was a retailer for 11 years, I tend to notice the little things, And every day when I walk past the store, I notice they've got a garbage can in the window. So imagine they've got their signage, they've got their things, and then there's this garbage can, a big one of those big things that they move in the truck, it's in the window. And every single day I notice it there. And I'm thinking to myself, is that the right image you want to project in your business? How long would it take to correct that? And this is what happens sometimes as business owners, is that we've been in our business so long, we don't notice the little things. So that's the UPS store. A little bit down the road, 2 or 3 stores from that store, there's a convenience store. And every day when I walk past, I notice that the windows are never clean. Doesn't matter winter, doesn't matter summer, whatever it is, it's never clean. And I think to myself, you know what? These are the basics. You are selling food and your windows are not clean. And you expect me as a new customer to come into your store when I look at the front of your window and it doesn't look good. So here's one of the things that I think every single one of us need to do now, immediately, especially those of us that have retail stores, but even those of us that have e-commerce stores, or we have service businesses. One of the things you need to do is to do a real audit of your business. That's what you need to do, a real audit, like a customer. Or even better, get another 2 business owners that you know, people that are not regularly in your store, and tell them to come into your store and be like a customer. And you want them to start on the outside before they come into your store, or even your e-commerce store. I was speaking to a small business owner the other day, and she said to me, Andrew, here's a link to my e-commerce store. I'm really happy with it. Can you have a look at it? And I went on and it looked really pretty. But then when I went to her products, I looked at the photographs and they looked like they were amateur photographs. I mean, she's got a beautiful product. She makes chocolates. They're stunning. I see it on Instagram every day. There's beautiful chocolates that she makes, little bonbons, beautiful. And she shows how she makes it. But if you looked at her Instagram and you looked at the beautiful photographs of the product and you went to her website, you think it would be 2 different businesses. And this is sometimes you've got to be very, very careful. I would say being a small business owner is very, very hard. It's hard work. It's stressful. It's difficult to generate revenue. But when you do the little things wrong, it even makes it more difficult. And the little things for me as a retailer are the important things. Things like clean sidewalks. Here's the lesson I learned as a retailer. That sidewalk outside my store belongs to me. It's my sidewalk. Because if that sidewalk is not clean, my customers walk past and they assume things about my business. So little things like 2 or 3 times a day, going outside and seeing if there's any garbage on the sidewalk, even if it doesn't, you don't even pay rent, it doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the government. You want to make sure that that's clean. Why? It's a reflection on your business. Or your signage. If you've got a sign above your store, you got to understand that's part of your branding. That's part of your image. But one of the most frustrating things for me is when I walk past a small business and I see the sign cracked or one of the light bulbs are not working, whatever. And I think to myself, this is your branding. This is your image. This is a reflection. This is the first thing customers see. And your sign is not even clean. Your awnings, these are so important. How many times I walk past and I see awnings that are dirty and I'm thinking to myself, you know what, how long would they take to clean it? You get a power washer, spray that thing, spend an hour there on a really hot day and that thing's clean. Or your windows, How long does it take to clean windows? Even you as a business owner, you go to your local Dollarama, whatever it is, buy some window spray, just spray it, take a squeegee. You don't have to have anything perfect, but there's nothing worse than walking past a retail store and looking at the windows and thinking, this thing hasn't been cleaned for months. We've got to understand it's the little things. The merchandising. If I come into your business, is the merchandising well done? Are your shelves clean? Are things faced every day? All of those things create an image. And as a customer, this is really, really important, because the other thing you need to know is average is not going to work over the next couple of years. We've got to do something exceptional. We've got to do something different if we want to get people to come into our stores. Your prices, does every single product in your business have a price? Does every single product on your website have a price? There's nothing that frustrates me more than when I walk into a store and the product doesn't have a price on it. You know what I do? I don't buy that product. Why? Because then I need to go to somebody and ask, what is the price of this product? And sometimes I just don't feel like asking. Sometimes I just like keeping to myself, looking at it, seeing if I can afford it, and then buying the product. Your customer service. When was the last time? Small business owners say this to me regularly. They say, Andrew, you know what? Our customer service is very good. And then you go into their stores, into their business, and you think, good. That's a strong word. I think your customer service is average. Your point of sale material. Do you even have point of sale material in your store? It's little things that we can do. We can speak to our suppliers, for example. A lot of them have point of sale material. If we can't afford to do it ourselves, a lot of them have point of sale material. As business owners, we got to be creative. We got to be innovative. We got to be smart. We got to be frugal, but we must get the little things right. For those of you that sell services, this means those little bit of detail, making sure that you look the part when you go to a client, that you're well presented, that you have a name badge on your t-shirt, that your truck is clean, that your shoes are shined, that all of these things are done, that your presentation is well done, that your customer service is not good, but absolutely brilliant. These are the things we need to do. We have no option. I say over and over again, the best businesses are the ones that go through recessions. The best business owners are those that have been through a couple of challenges in their lives. It makes them better business owners. And you've got to understand this. One of the things that I often say is that I find a lot of retail absolutely boring. Absolutely boring. You go into these stores and you think to yourself, you know what, it's just like every other store. If you want to survive, if you want to thrive, if you want to make better margin, here's a very important thing. Every single time somebody comes into your store, surprise them. Just surprise them with different things. Surprise them with your customer service. Surprise them with your reliability. Surprise them with your follow-up. All of these things are very, very important. I find that many times I will go into businesses and I'll think to myself, you know what, the service, the whole experience was just average. What I encourage you to do is to go and visit some of your favorite businesses. Some of the favorite businesses, doesn't matter what city you go, what area you're in, go and see some of the top retail businesses around and learn from them. Just walk in and just feel the difference that they do. One of my favorite examples, when I was a retailer, we used to do this every 90 days. We used to call them look and learn trips. So what we used to do, we used to get a bunch of us in a car and we used to go to different areas and go and look at retail stores. And it didn't matter what the retail was. It doesn't matter whether they were selling popcorn, whether they were selling clothing, whatever. I liked looking at good retail. Actually, I remember once going with a friend of mine from here to New York just to go and look at good retail. There was a store that had opened called Seriality. I don't even know if they're still in business. I remember us going to see, what's that other one? Clothing store. Anthropology and a bunch of retail. I remember going to see Chipotle and a bunch of different retailers. And the idea was just to look at good retail, just to look at good retail, get ideas, and then improve our business. And you got to understand, I'm in the service business, but going to see retailers and seeing what they were doing and seeing how they were surprising and delighting customers becomes really important. I want to come into your business and I want to buy your product or service, and I want to walk out of your business and say, that was a great purchasing experience. And if you are not doing that, it's going to have an impact on your profit margins and in the survivability of your business. Because you've got to understand, having good products and good service is just not enough. Surprising and delighting your customers is a really important thing. The other thing that I encourage every one of you to do is to think of these simple promotional things that you can do. For example, email. I love email marketing. Why do I love email marketing? There's a couple of reasons. Number one is it's effective. Every single person has an email address, firstly. Number two, it is measurable. And I've got a really good example here on the screen. This was during COVID. This was a business in Peterborough. I don't know who they are, but I was looking for examples of small businesses that are doing a good job marketing. And these guys are a very good example. So they're a restaurant. They decided to launch an email newsletter. Okay, so they decided to launch an email newsletter for their more mature or older customers. And listen what happened. They launched this newsletter and they got 500 subscribers. Now let's understand how they can use this information. They've got 500 people on their database. On a regular basis, they can send these people an email saying, hi, let us show you how we make this dish in our restaurant. Let us show you how we make that salad in our restaurant. Here's a couple of tips when you're making this thing at home, you can do. That's the one thing they can do. But more importantly, let's come up with some creative promotions. Because these people are a little bit more mature, let's say we decide to come up with an early dinner special. 5 o'clock on Thursdays, we have an early dinner special only for our subscribers. I don't know if any of you know about anything about the restaurant business, but the restaurant business, it's about getting the sittings in your business. And 5 o'clock is not a time that people go for dinner. But mature people or older people, actually very interestingly, if any of you visit Florida, they always have specials for pensioners at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Why? Because it fills their restaurant on for that hour or the hour and a half before the younger people arrive at 7 or 8. So the idea here is, and all of you should be doing it. I mean, I was in a store, when was it? On Saturday in a local mall here. And it was like a Dollarama type thing, but it was not Dollarama. Anyway, and I was standing there. I was looking for something. I don't know what I was looking for. I was just walking around and I heard the cashier say to the lady, are you on our database? And she said, no. And the cashier said, well, why don't we put you on our database? And then what we do is we send you an email every now and then you can collect points. And I was walking around in this Dollarama type store, and I was thinking to myself, really? That's how easy it is to get people's emails? You just ask for it, and then you put it into a database, and then you send them information on a regular basis. The problem is that most of us do not do these simple things. And this is what we need to do. The other thing we need to do on a regular basis, every one of you that are retailers on a main street, every single week, not some weeks, not most week, every single week you need to have a promotion. Every single week. Because let me tell you something about customers. They like surprises. They like surprises. When you create a new pizza, when you create a new chocolate, when you come up with a new set of ways of taking photographs, when you come up with a new wine, when you come up with any creative ideas, they like it. Actually, they want surprises. When they walk into a store that regularly has surprises, they wonder what surprises they're going to be next week. So as a business owner, I'm going to encourage you, every single one of you, if you want to survive the next 2 or 3 years, every single week, come up with a promotion. And remember, it's not about discounting. It's about highlighting different products and services that you sell in your store. And there's a whole lot of ideas you can come up with, really creative ideas. Things like a senior citizen day, things like a midweek sales. Every Wednesday, we have a discount on our chocolates. Every Friday, we have this. Every Monday, we have this. Or even better, come up with private customer sales. So you know those people that are part of your database? Once a month or once every 2 months, close your store down at whatever time you close it in the evening, and then have a special event for them. Invite them in and say, come into our store. Come and see what special stuff we have. And these are the type of things we need to be doing. Why should we be doing these things? Because they work. Because you've got to understand, if you don't give me good reasons to come into your store, why am I going to come in? If it's the same thing every single time, it's the same decor, it's the same whatever, you need to be creative. You need to come up with an idea every single week. And I promise you, walk around, go and see other businesses that have succeeded on your main street. Go and see other businesses that have succeeded in different towns and cities, and see if they don't do these things regularly. That they regularly have surprises for their customers. They regularly have promotions. They regularly have these different things that make them unique, different, and special. Because otherwise, retail is boring. And you've got to be very, very careful of becoming a boring retailer. And I walk up and down my main street, and I'm telling you, a lot of those businesses to me are just boring. They're not giving me a reason to walk into their stores. And if you don't give me a reason to walk into your stores and I come past there every single day, I'm just going to keep walking. That's what I'm going to be doing. And I find in a lot of our main streets, we're not doing these things. We're not surprising people. We're not coming up with special promotions. We're not doing these things. And you cannot survive in these very, very difficult times. So I was a retailer for 11 years. And initially, I was a struggling retailer, just so you know. And eventually, I learned a couple of things. Some of the things that I learned was that when I did up my store, people noticed. So even the few regular customers that I had, they noticed. They say, oh, Andrew, I see you're running a promotion on this, or you're running a promotion on this, or whatever it is. So I learned very, very quickly that customers love when the store is done up. Customers love when the store is different, and so do your employees. Employees love it when you come up with some creative ideas, when you decorate the store, when you come up with promotions. So I realized this very, very quickly. And so what we did is I went through the calendar and identified different holidays. And you know what? Just here on the screen, I've got 4 for the next 4 months. You've got back to school, you've got Halloween, you've got Black Friday, and you've got Christmas coming up. These are 4 really big opportunities for you to make your store absolutely beautiful, to do up your store, do up your windows, and be creative. Because if you're not creative, I'm not going to notice you. And when I come into your business and I walk in, I'm going to be bored. And for those of you that are not retail type business, if you're an e-commerce business, the exact same thing applies. And even if you're not an e-commerce business, if you're a service business, exactly the same thing applies. You need to have a reason to communicate with customers. So if you've got a database of customers that have bought photography from you before, you can send them an email and say, you know what, we're having a Halloween special. What's this Halloween special about? No, you can bring your kids, you dress them up, we take photographs, and for that, we're only going to charge you $2,000, whatever it is. But the idea is you've got to come up with reasons to communicate with your customers. And some of them are going to take advantage of the back to school special, and some of them aren't. Some of them are going to take advantage of the Halloween specials, and some of them aren't. So the idea here is that if you do this regularly, you're going to get some buy-in from customers. I'll give you a very good example. I just thought of it now. My son, Daniel, runs an e-commerce business. And he did not have anything to communicate with customers, but he'd been having a little bit of a problem with his production. So what he did is he wrote a letter from himself. He said, "Hi, I'm Daniel. I'm the owner of this business. And I just want to tell you what's happening with this product. We're struggling to get the production right, but as soon as we get it right, we'll respond. In the meantime, here's a whole lot of products we have." And there was no promotion attached to this thing. And he said to me, after that email went out, was one of the best days in revenue he had. Why did it work? Well, firstly, he had the customers' emails. Secondly, he found a reason to communicate with people. And what I want you to do is I want you to come up with a reason. So create a calendar of events. Set goals for each event. So set yourself targets. We want to get 10 new customers or 5 new customers or whatever it is. And once you create a promotion, select products and services that support the theme. That's what you want to be doing. You want your store to be your medium. You want your store to be interesting. You want your store to be attractive. You want your business to be attractive. You want people to notice you. You want to create excitement in your store. That's what you want to do, is you want to create excitement. Because the thing I've learned about people is they like entertainment. And this happens to you all the time. If any of you have traveled anywhere in the world, you'll be walking down in a city. I was in Santa Monica in June this year, and we were walking down the main street, and then there was this entertainer. There was this guy, I don't know what he was doing, jumping up and down and things like that. And what started happening is people started congregating around him. There was one person, then there were 2, then there were 3, and then there were 4, and then there was a whole bunch of people around him. Why? Because people like to be entertained, firstly, and where they see crowds, they get attracted. So here's the thing, that once you start getting people coming in your store, and I walk into your store and I notice that there's more people in there, I start thinking, interesting. They must be doing something right. So if you learn nothing else from me this afternoon, one of the things that I encourage you to do is to work on a calendar of events. Sit down with your staff, set goals for each event, and create excitement in your store. Create entertainment in your store. And remember, this is a medium. This makes what you do more fun. It really does. And it gives you a reason to change your merchandise, to change the way your store is inside. If you're an e-commerce store, it gives you that opportunity to move things around, which is always a very good thing in your business or on your website. The other thing you want to do is use social media. So I mentor this business owner, and without her permission, I have now shared this on the screen. But let me tell you something about this small business owner. She sells chocolate bonbons, and she sells beautiful chocolate bonbons. And the one thing I like what she does is every day she's got a story. Every single day she'll share examples, and she's a really tiny business, just so you know. But every day she'll share examples of her making the product. She'll share photographs of different stuff that she's doing. She uses hashtags. She does that. But she really gets her customers involved. And I'm going to say to you, when you are stuck for content, when you are not sure what you should be sharing on that Instagram or that TikTok or that Facebook, whatever it is, just show people what you do. Just show them how you pick orders, show them how you take photographs, show them how you make chocolates, show them how you select wine. Show them how. I'm trying to think of all the businesses that you told me what you are, and I'm trying to think of ideas. But you've got to understand, people are curious. People are curious what's happening in the back end. And this gives you the opportunity to share and to share. And it starts off with 300 people, then it's 400 people, then it's 500 people, then it's 1,000 people. So what she's just started doing, which is a really good example, she started doing chocolates for weddings. And I've said to her, you've got to focus on that. I said, because, every wedding that I asked her, how much revenue do you get out of weddings? She says $1,000. And I said, you know what? Getting $1,000 out of one customer is better than getting $275 for an individual bonbon. But you understand that at least, she's got a place to share it. So not only do people come into a store, people try her stuff, but if she grows a wedding part of the business, let's say she gets one wedding a week over the next 4 weeks, that's $4,000 extra dollars. And I think this is a really, really important thing. So let me just read some examples that people, and Nirvani says, doing Halloween photos is a good idea. And Moira says, I do a great tip and advice. So these are some of the things that I would do. And again, there's a very good example, is you imagine yourself standing on the side of the road. So I would, for example, if I was you, let me just, Moira, I've got a bit of bad eyes, but Moira, that's probably what I would do. So you're right, applying a seal to document is not interesting, but educating people on why they need your services is a really good thing. And, you know, sharing with them some red flags, you know, before you do this, you know, ask this question. If you're going to be using this service, that's the type of things you want to be doing on a regular basis. And those are the things that are effective. All right, so we've got a few minutes left. I'm going to share a couple of ideas. And if any of you have got more ideas, please share them in the chat and I'll tell people about them. But these are some of the things that we can be doing on a regular basis. And I like this idea of JD of really promoting yourself. But one of the ideas, for example, I remember years ago, I used to go down to, I went down to Florida a couple of times, and I used to go into the mall, and there was this thing called bourbon chicken. I don't even know if they still make it, but there was this thing called bourbon chicken. And what used to happen is you'd be walking in the mall, and this person would come up to you and say, do you want to taste our chicken? And we'd taste our chicken, and it became my kids' favorite chicken. They were like 5 and 9 at the time, and we'd buy it. And the only reason we bought it is because we tasted it. And you've got to understand that your first step to getting a customer is they've got to try your stuff. So let's say I was a photographer. My first step for anything is for this customer to ask me to take a photograph and to pay for it. So even if that's a passport photograph, even if it's whatever it is, but you want to get the customer to buy something, because once they try, and then you can sell other things to them. But if they don't try at all. So the thing I like about experiential marketing is you experience these things in stores and you try things, and it's a really, really interesting way to market things. A friend of mine, for example, that's his business, and he builds these Plinko games. And a lot of companies buy them because they want to get people's attention. So they put them in their stores or they put them in downtowns, and it attracts people's attention. And then they buy stuff, which is really, really simple. The other thing you want to do, and I think if I was on a main street, maybe we'd run a competition on the main street and you know, see who does the best merchandising and window display, for example, for Halloween or for back to school or for Black Friday or for Christmas, whatever it is. But you want to create excitement, you know, so that it draws people in to your main street. And it's a matter of just, you know, getting a few of you together and just doing it. And sometimes that's the solution. The solution is to do the simple stuff right. Another thing that is very, very simple that a lot of us don't always focus on is to encourage people to give us a Google review. You know, when somebody comes into your store and they say, I really liked your product, or I really liked your service, why not say to them, won't you please go to our Google My Business page, or here's the link to my Google My Business page, and can you put on a review for us? Because it really helps us grow our business. We are a local small business. We support the local community, and this is what we do. The other opportunity is to partner with other businesses on your main street. There are other businesses on your main street that will promote your business and you can promote theirs. Or maybe do a joint promotion somehow. And this is where you've got to get creative. I know, for example, when I was in retail, at the front of our store, regularly on weekends, we used to sometimes have people making hot dogs and selling them, or burgers or chickens, or so many different ideas. But I was always trying to create excitement around the front of our store, because then people would notice it. And if people notice it, they come in. And if they come in, there's a chance they will buy our stuff. But if they don't come in, they will not buy. The other thing is get involved with your community. You know, maybe the opportunity is once a week, get involved with your community, get a different charity, to come and, raise some money for them outside your store, or let them sell stuff or whatever it is. And you want people to know about this, because as small business owners, we are part of our communities, and we must get involved. And we got to be very, very careful of just sitting back and waiting for some divine intervention to help us grow our businesses. We have no option but to start doing different things. Create a loyalty program, a simple little loyalty program that every single time you come into our store and you buy a bottle of wine, after you've bought 10 bottles, we give you a glass. Or every single time you come into our store and you buy chocolates, after you've bought the 20th one, we give you whatever it is. You want to create these things because Canadians love loyalty programs. We collect more points on average than any other country in the world. So we love loyalty. So understand the value of that. I mean, I see loyalty programs in Starbucks. I see it in Tim Hortons. And I'm thinking, why do people even subscribe to these things? But I'm obviously not their target market. Encourage evangelists to promote your store. There are certain people that absolutely love your business. They love your business. They'll tell their friends about it. And you need to encourage this. You need to say to them, won't you please share this on your Facebook page? Won't you please share this on your Instagram page? Won't you please share this on whatever you're doing? And the idea is to get your customers to help you grow your business, because all of us are like it. When we find a great store or we find a great product, we find a great service, we like telling other people. The other thing you can do, which is a very, very simple thing, and I used this many times when I was a retailer, is running regular contests. Going to a local store, buying some stuff, putting it on promotion and doing it. I want you to understand, if you want to survive in business going forward, I've got to walk into your business and I've got to feel this place is different. This place is unique. This place is special. This place communicates with me regularly. And if you don't do that, you're going to struggle to survive. I want you to understand that. We've got to create a community around our business. We got to create excitement around our business. We got to create really, really important things around our business. Because if we don't do that, we are going to struggle. I find that nowadays, too much retail is boring. The second thing that I noticed is we do not focus enough on the basics. So this little store down the road from me, that's a retail store that is not doing well. They are blaming the government. They are blaming the recession. They are blaming whoever they can blame, but not blaming themselves. We as retailers, as business owners, we need to look at our business and we need to say to ourselves, am I presenting a good retail experience? If the answer is yes, we are going to survive. If the answer is no, this is a problem. So make sure that you take one or two of these ideas that I shared with you today, use them, and you build a successful business. I just want to read one comment JD said, which I think is worth repeating. Be specific in your marketing, having different messages for different target markets. If you market to everybody, you reach nobody. And I agree with that. And that's why I said this early on. You need to know who your target market is. Be very, very clear on that. And you want to focus on those people. The 20% of your customers that give you 80% of your profit, that's the people that you want to focus on. All right, so I noticed there's no more questions. I just want to remind you, next webinar, we're going to speak about getting free publicity for your business. It's called Creating a Buzz. I encourage all of you to sign up for that webinar. And then I'm going to share with you some really practical ideas on how you can market your business, getting free publicity, and create excitement around your business. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me this afternoon. Use this information, build a very successful business, and I'll be very happy. Thank you, and have a great afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you at the next webinar.